I've already made videos about SOHCAHTOA, the trigonometric ratios, and law of sines. And this, the law of cosines, is kind of what happens if those things don't work. So just as a review, the trigonometric ratios are for right triangles. If you had a right triangle, you'd want to just use the sine, cosine, tangent ratios and set those up. Law of sines is useful when you have a pair of an angle, for example, like this angle right here, and the side that's across from it. You can establish a relationship, then you can use what's called the law of sines. But if you don't have that, if those things fail, then you go to the law of cosines. So here's the law of cosines. Remember that the lowercase, and C is always harder to tell, but lowercase represents side lengths, and uppercase represents an angle. And this is for when we're looking for a side length and we have the angle across from it as well as the other sides. So again, a law of sines situation, we would have had the angle and the side across from it. So this is when we don't have that pair. So let's do an example. Okay, so you can see I have an angle, but I do not know the side across from it. If I did, I'd use law of sines. So instead, I really have, if you want to think back to our triangle congruence proofs, I have a side, angle, side situation. So this has to be my C, my angle that I know, and this is my little c, my angle I don't know, and these other two sides are my A and B. So using the formula, I would say, okay, x squared, the side I don't know, is equal to, now it doesn't really matter which one is C and which one is B, because none of the things we're going to do does the order matter. You know, we can add 17 squared plus 20 squared and get the same thing as if we added 20 squared and 17 squared. So order does not matter here. 2, 17, same thing here, of course, multiplication, order doesn't matter. Cosine of C of 26 degrees. Now, one thing you could do if you wanted to just type this all in on one line of your calculator, because that's really all you're going to have to do, is you could simply take the square root of both sides right away as you type that in so that you have x equals. Okay, let's type this in. Okay, so I'm going to do second and the square root, and then I'm going to type this whole long chain of things in. 17 squared plus 20 squared minus 2 times 17. I'm using parentheses here. You wouldn't have. You could just put the times sign. And there it is, 8.821 or 8.8. Now, one thing to mention here is oftentimes problems will have you solve for many parts of a triangle. And we now know that this side is 8.8, okay? Now you have a side angle pair that you can establish for law of sines. And if I said, well, let's find this angle right here, well, now I would go to law of sines and I would use that established pair, 26 over 8.8 is equal to the sine of that missing angle. I guess I shouldn't call it x again, but over 17. You should never need to use law of cosines more than once. Law of cosines should be used, and then you can establish that relationship, because law of sines, while I don't know that it's necessarily easier, it is a shorter process. Let's do another example. Okay, so once again, you'll see we've got this situation where we notice two sides and the angle between, but we can't establish a relationship for law of sines. So we go to law of cosines. So our missing side, this is going to be our C, so we've got x squared equals, and we do the other two sides. It does not matter what order you put them in. All of the operations we're going to do are commutative, meaning they can be done in any order. And again, if you wanted to just say, well, I just want to take the square root right away, so I can just say it's x. I guess I'll do that. All right, so I'm going to type this in. This time I'm not going to use parentheses. Again, I just wanted to show that all of this works. So just there we are. 34.68 or 34.7 is the length of our side. And again, once you have this, once you know what this side is, now you have a pair to establish your law of sines. So you should never, ever need to use law of cosines more than once. If this video helped you, please like and subscribe for more geometry help.